What is going on, guys? Today's just some triceps today. And let me start off with some incline bench. Not dumbbells, but some bench, hopefully. Either that or Smith machine incline, but I'm definitely doing an incline bench of some sort. Last resort is dumbbells, or last resort would be like machine, but we're definitely doing some sort of incline, but preferred incline bench press, the free weight. But we'll get that figured out. And then obviously some type of fly, and then might do some shoulder pressing in there, maybe. Kind of figure that out. Maybe do some dumbbell shoulder pressing, and then we'll do some tricep extensions, and then we'll do just like the easy bar push downs, and then we'll figure it out on the way. Figure out when we're there. Obviously do my warm up, get my rear delts, everything warmed up, because if you warm up your rear delts, you create stability on your pressing movements. If you guys didn't know, I learned that one from Phil Heath. He is a 6-time Mr. Olympia, pretty sure. But if you want more stability on your pressing movements, you should do rear delt flies of some sort, with dumbbells, the pec deck, or cables, just really anything. But I'm gonna put the shades on. I'm getting blinded by the sun. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow or the next day, but that's something we gotta figure out. And I gotta get an oil change, so I got a couple things I gotta do the next couple days while I'm up here. But what I wanted to talk about today is progressive overloading. And the whole point of progressive overloading is progress. Progressive overloading. Take a house, for example, right? You build a house, you apply the windows, you put the flooring in, you build the house up, right? You start with the flooring, all that. I don't exactly know the whole construction of a house, So if I want to build my own house, that's not happening. But, you build the house up, whatnot. You start from step 1 and you get to step, we'll just say the step 100, right? Now that goes for, let's just say, like for me today, incline bench press. Well, sometimes, I started with 135. Well, originally it was like 95 pounds. That was step 1. And then over time, I got up to 185. And then I'm going to get to 225 for reps and, all this stuff. I already got 225 on incline Smith machine for 3. And I'll eventually be able to get that to 5. And then I'll be able to do it for free weight for 3. And then I'll get it to 5. But pretty much is the reason why I track my stuff on my phone on this one app. It's called Strength Log, I think. It's just like it looks like a Yeti with horns, and it's just Strength Log, I'm pretty sure. But pretty much that basically simplifies and makes it a lot easier for my progressive overloading, rather than a standard just kind of thinking what it is. Because I have a buddy who makes fun of me, obviously, for just tracking down my stuff. But pretty much, it's just a simpler version and an easy way to remember what I'm doing in my day. Because sometimes, back when I didn't track my stuff, because I've been doing it for like a month or 2 now, just to kind of see what I'm doing, it really does help me with remembering, hey, I did 225 on incline bench here, and for 3, let's say I only did it for 2. Well, now I know I did it 1 less rep, and maybe my recovery wasn't as good, I need more carbs. Or for next time, like, I got it for 4. It'll say PR in my thing. I can be like, oh, I did an extra rep more than last time. That's pretty cool. I know my recovery was good and all that, so. But it's just a very simple way, an easy way to remember what you're doing exactly, because a lot of times we're not tracking completely everything. Like the main lifts, right, like is usually your first lift, right? Maybe it's your second, right? Like maybe you're a bench presser, or like for me personally, since I'm doing incline bench press first, I wouldn't have to probably track that. I could just remember off the top of my head like this. But something like what's something? I don't know. like a dumbbell curl, I don't do dumbbell curls much. Let's say a hammer curl. I do 55, 50, 60 pounds for 6, right? Let's say I'm like, okay, I'll pick up the 55s. And I'm like, oh, I got 8 reps. That's more than what I did last time. But in reality, I did 55s and I got it for 6, right? Or, 8, or whatever. So pretty much the point is, sure, I did basically more reps on hammer curls when I did more weight, but I did less reps and everything, my whole point though is pretty much it allows you to keep track of the exact lifts and everything that you're doing, because if you're not progressing in your weight, especially if you're bulking in that kind of context, or if you're just kind of not in a cutting circumstance, you should be always going up in weight. Now if you're plateauing, take a look back. Maybe take a couple rest days, right? Maybe eat a little bit more that week. Maybe, stick it out, and eventually you'll break that plateau. Maybe do something different. Maybe a different exercise. Maybe a different amount of sets. Now, I will say, with the eating part, eat more calories, that's not always the case. If you are 250 pounds and you're having a plateau on bench, and I say eat more calories, but you're 250 pounds and you're 30% body fat, and you just heard me say eat more calories, do not. You're overweight. You do not need more calories. You need a cut, if anything. In my opinion, unless you're a strong man, you obviously know what you're doing then, I think. But I don't think strong men are even 30% body fat, but that's just an example. And I'm not making fun of anyone. But we're going to get into this workout. I have to poop so bad, but I'll see you guys in a few. So first off, we got our compound movement of the day, which is a incline bench. And today I got a PR. I did 205 here. I got it for a few reps. I was hoping to get more, but I had a great spot here. He actually let me really fight for the rep and really let me feel it out on my chest here. So W spotter here, but make sure you get a good stretch in the bottom. Go slow on the way down. Explode on the way up as much as you can. And for this exercise, do 3 to 10 reps. Next couple sets, I did a back off sets to. I went from 205 to 185. I did both for 5 reps. And did that for 3 sets. Next movement, we have a chest pec deck fly. One of my favorite movements. This one is just really squeezing your elbows in together, trying to touch those rather than your hands, so you get less shoulder and more chest activation. Explode on the way up, slow on the way back, get a deep stretch and a really good squeeze. Trying around the 6 to 12 rep range, going from 2 to 3 sets on this. Next, we have another middle chest movement. It's just a low decline press on the machine. Went a little heavier, so I did less reps on this unilateral movement. But unilateral movements are better for just more contraction on each side of the chest if you have more stability for each machine. So like a unilateral dumbbell movement won't be good compared with this. We're training around the 5 to 10 rep range for this. Anything higher is a little excessive, I think. You don't progressive overload as much. But just get a deep stretch and a really good squeeze at the top. Next movement we got is a tricep push down with a easy bar. Train heavy for these, train around the 5 to 10 rep range, going from 2 to 3 sets. Make sure you keep your elbows in, and you can kind of go on the at the top of the range of motion. You kind of swing up a little bit to get more of a stretch and get a kind of more weights and reps on this exercise. Next movement we have is a skull crusher. We're training around the 5 to 12 rep range, going a little lighter because it's a little more kind of, what's the word for it? Cautious, I guess you can say, or whatever, on your elbows. So just make sure you're not training too heavy because you don't want to get any elbow pain long-term wise. Keep your elbows in when you're doing this. You get a better squeeze and contraction. Go a little above your head. Go around 1 to 2 sets. Next we have katana extensions, which is probably my favorite name for tricep movement. This movement hits the long head of the tricep, which is the outside part, which makes your arm look thicker and wider from the side. But pretty much just make sure you're kind of turning your hand at like an angle at the end range of motion, going really slow at the top, not using any of your shoulders to keep your arm in place. Keep your elbows close and train around the 7 to 15 rep range, going from 1 to 3 sets for these. Last movement of the day is just to get a pump for your chest and a little bit of your triceps and somewhat of your front delts. But when you do this, cross your arms a little bit. Train decently heavy with this, but like I said, it's just for a pump, so you can go lighter, but cross your arms when you're doing it in the beginning, and then third rep, put your arms in the middle, maybe kind of even it out a little bit. But train, like I said, light, squeeze your chest as much as you can, and just get a sick pump, brother. Howdy, howdy, howdy. That was a good workout. We just did chest and triceps, obviously. And I can't complain about anything except brain fog, but that's because we had such a good lift, right? The thing about it is, I think personally, especially on leg days, right? And on chest and not chest and triceps, but chest and back, if you don't feel a little bit of like fatigueness, or dang, he's the one that drives the Corvette? Dang, the guy that drives the Corvette, I've seen him in the they have like this kickboxing room with like a bag and stuff, you know. And I see him in there doing cardio on the elliptical bike by himself in there. I think because he, you know, likes the like quiet vibe of it. And I don't blame him. It's very quiet in there, and it's probably very peaceful while you're on that elliptical. But back to my main point. If you are not a little fatigued or a little... Ah, no, I dropped my camera. Hold on. Let me put you guys back on here. Whoops. I slapped you guys across the universe with that slap. No. But if you're not a little fatigued from the workout, or you're not feeling like you didn't push yourself or whatnot, what are you doing? You're in the gym doing 3x12s. You know, just in there kind of getting blood flowing. You're not doing anything for yourself other than maintaining what you have. And in reality, it's like, do you really care about your fitness that much? In all seriousness, you know, I don't think that I've ever came out of the gym the exact same, right? Whether that be mentally, I'm feeling better. Mentally, I'm feeling more brain fogged because of the amount of times I push myself. Physically feeling more like sluggish now, you know, just like, and I don't mean sluggish meaning like I feel like I'm on the verge of dying and I need the bed immediately, right? But I just mean like, dang, I need an hour or two or 30 minutes or whatever to recuperate myself, get some carbs back in my system, and you know, all that, you know. So it's a mix of like, just, you know, how much did I push myself today, right? And usually I can really kind of feel that based on just what my workout was like, you know? like, the thing is, you know when you've pushed yourself, whether that be just, like I said, you're brain fogged, you're tired. But if you just feel like you had more reps in the tank mentally, you probably didn't do enough physically. You know, don't, like what Tom Platt said, don't come out a loser. Don't be a loser. I don't want to be that loser guy. And if that's not the most true saying ever, I don't know what I'm hearing, right? I think that Tom Platt's went a little crazy on terms of intensity. Like, he was a little too far in it, I think. Because I always think I am one person to think you should push yourself undoubtedly. Like, 3 reps past failure if you can, right? Do some partials at the end, right? But he was doing like a hundredth of the range of motion that he was originally doing his first few reps. And the thing is, his first few reps looked like they were too heavy. But hey, I'm not the judge of Tom Platt. I mean, you've seen his legs, right? That's not a guy you want to play with, you know? But yeah, I think that you should reasonably smart and reasonably kind of go, what's the term, caveman mode. I was going to say brain rot, that also kind of works, but brain rot's really dumb nowadays, so I'm not using that term, right? But caveman mode, right, you should be a little berserky and a little bit of, you know, Einstein brain, right? Go in there thinking intelligently like Mike Mincer and kind of go, okay, I want to do this kind of amount of sets with this kind of intensity, and I want to train around these amount of reps with these kind of machines to train these muscles. And then, you know, you should be in there doing the reps and a caveman style. The last couple reps, go to war with yourself, man. Really push yourself. If you really got to think about some weird stuff mentally to really push, not weird stuff, but, you know, you got to think mentally. If you got to somehow push yourself further, do whatever you need to, man. Because those last reps are really where winners are born, right? You don't get to the Mr. Olympia stage by going to 75%. You go get to the Mr. Olympia stage by getting to 105, 110%, right? So, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys liked it, subscribe, comment, like, share the video if you would like. I'm not going to force y'all to do anything you don't want to do. I'm not that type of person. I don't even know what I'm ranting off about, but I had a great day in there, and now I gotta go to work in a couple hours. I'm gonna eat a bunch of carbs and protein before I go in. But, oh yeah, also, this pump was 10 times better than when I donated plasma. I'll tell you what, that was I'm not gonna say the worst time of my life, but not seeing the pump that I really wanted after doing the most controlled curls and all that stuff, I was so mad. I was disappointed. I was like, man, I'm doing all these controlled reps, everything for nothing. No, but I had a good day in there. But I'll see you guys for back and biceps tomorrow, and low shoulders and some abs. Goodbye.